Hello, my name is LoG and welcome to Quickies number 8, where I show you something that I think is cool in 5 minutes or less. Today we're going to talk about how I think you should be practicing hybrid picking to kind of get it naturally coming out in your day-to-day playing. So if you're not used to hybrid picking or you're not familiar with it, it's really just when you're using pick and fingers, and some licks that are really typical with this sound are licks that are usually kind of jumpy sounding, so you're jumping strings, because it's just physically easier to do that. So a lick like this would probably be a pretty typical example. Something along those lines. So I'm jumping back and forth between the G string and the high E string. It's really easy to do that when my pick can just sit here on the G string and my ring finger can just grab that high E string. So this is a great technique, and a lot of people practice these like crazy licks with using pick and fingers, and they sound awesome. But there's sort of a problem, at least that I think, in regards to this type of thing. If you're trying to build a technique and you are tying that technique to a specific idea or specific lick, the only time you're naturally going to play that technique is when you play that specific idea or that specific lick. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? It's perfectly fine to have that lick in your brain and you say, okay, brain, time to execute lick. You play the lick and it's all great. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's not the same as having that technique ingrained into your normal day-to-day technique, right? So imagine your brain is just like a big open room of ideas. And in the center of the room, you have a huge box which lives your normal day-to-day guitar activities, your normal shapes that you play, your normal techniques. Maybe it's like, you know, a mixture of like alternate picking and economy pick, whatever it is, whatever the technique is, that's your main thing. You pick up the guitar, you don't have to think about it, that's what happens. And then surrounding that box are smaller boxes of specific ideas that are very cool, but you have to access them, right? They don't live in that big box in the center. Here's a tapping lick over here, here's a sweep picking lick, here's a hybrid picking lick. And in order to play those, you have to access them. You have to grab them and say, okay, now it's time to play this lick, let's do it, right? Nothing wrong with that. It's really great to have those, really great to play them. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about having this technique of hybrid picking ingrained into your normal day-to-day. It's not over here hanging out waiting for you to access it. It is here already happening in your normal kind of average playing that you do every day, right? Like kind of your mundane playing, it's already happening in there. So I want to talk about how to do that. And I think it's the opposite of learning like really involved licks using this technique. I think the best way to do it is to just do it in the most rudimentary, run-of-the-mill, mundane, simple passages that you know and that you play all the time. So let's take something really simple. How about this? Right? There's a little pentatonic like A minor, flat 7, 1, flat 3, A minor pentatonic, right? Super, super simple. So how would we naturally play that? Most people would probably like pick, pick, pick maybe, like that, down, up, down, or maybe pick, hammer on, and then pick again. But what I want you to do is pick, hammer on, middle finger, or pick, hammer on, ring finger, right? How about both? Back and forth, middle finger, ring finger, middle finger, ring finger. Then expand on that. How about something like this? Super simple phrase, right? Just a little pentatonic, A minor pentatonic passage. But watch how I'm going to play this. Most of the time, how you would normally play this is maybe like pick, hammer on, slide, and then pick. I'm going to do this. Pick, hammer on, middle finger, maybe pick, slide, ring finger. Or how about this? Pick, hammer on, middle finger, hammer on, slide, ring finger. So I'm only picking once that whole time and then using fingers and legato techniques for everything else. Right? Now, why would I do, you might be saying, I can already play that lick with my normal technique, my picking and normal stuff that I already do. Why am I relearning it with pick and fingers? That's exactly why you actually want to relearn it, because it's so simple and because you already know it so well. You're not tying that to a specific technique. That's just a general thing that you'll play. So if you force yourself to start using pick and fingers to play something so simple and so rudimentary, you'll notice that that technique is going to start to come out naturally in your playing. You won't have to flip a switch in your brain to say, okay, it's time to use that hybrid picking lick. It's already there, it's already happening. So when I'm playing naturally, if I'm just doing whatever, like you wouldn't you wouldn't naturally think that I am doing that technique just by the sound, because all of that is perfectly pickable. But if you watch my hand when I'm doing that I'm using pick and fingers constantly. They're sneaking in here and there to grab little notes. Why am I doing that? I think it's just easier for me. I kind of like how it feels. I like how it sounds. You don't necessarily have to do the same thing, but in regards to getting it coming out naturally in your playing, I really think tying that technique to simple ideas that don't require you to search in your brain of ideas and grab it. It's already there. It already is something that you do every day. That's where you should be using your pick and fingers. How about something like this? Here's a little chord shape. Instead of strumming it, like if you're just strumming a chord, don't strum that chord. Pick and fingers. Pick on the low string, the other two fingers up here. If you're trying to do like a rhythm, try to do something like that with pick and fingers. Something along those lines to kind of get that technique happening in that other very normal context of just strumming a chord. How about this? Like a arpeggiating a chord, like doing something like that. Instead of picking it, which is obviously very easy to do, use your pick and fingers instead. Right now, pick, middle finger, pick, ring finger. You can kind of see what I'm doing there. Again, do I have to do that? No, I don't have to do that. I can pick it very easily, but by forcing myself to use pick and fingers in a very normal, run-of-the-mill, mundane passage, you'll find, at least I think, you'll find this technique starting to come out more naturally in your playing. Hope this makes sense. See you in the next one.